Immersion is everything, and when it comes to gaming, I still think VR is the best for things like sim games, but the next best setup that works for a variety of game types and even work office use cases, whether it's for first-person shooters, real-time strategy, or watching your meme stonks plummet to zero, has to be an ultra-wide monitor, giving that expansive view at eye level while sat on a desk. While 34-inch ultra-wides are fairly commonplace nowadays, massive ultra-wide screens of 40 inches or more have been prohibitively expensive, especially when you start demanding features like super high refresh rates or FreeSync. Innocn is here to save the day with an affordable 40-inch ultra-wide display with 144 high refresh rate, FreeSync supported, all for around $600, though you might be able to get it for $550 or even $500 if you wait for a sale. Yet again, Innocn is somehow able to blow this market wide open. So join me, James Bruce, with MUO Reviews as I take a closer look at the Innocn 40C1R. And be sure to enter our competition because courtesy of Innocn, we're giving away a 40C1R to 2 lucky winners. Be sure to watch to the end of the review to find out the bonus code for some additional entries in the competition to increase your chances. So running at 3440 by 1440px, which is otherwise known in common language as UWQHD. Nope, I've never heard of that term either. But apparently it stands for Ultra Wide Quad HD. The screen has a 21:9 display ratio, and at 40 inches diagonal, that works out as around 93 pixels per inch. So while the resolution sounds very impressive, similar to sort of 4K, it is tempered by the fact that the thing is both huge and extremely wide. So it's not quite the same pixel density as a 4K monitor in a standard config would be. It's more akin to squishing 2 HD monitors side by side. The panel technology is ADS, which is a type of IPS, though in practical terms there's very little difference between the two, apart from slightly higher panel rigidity, which is not something you would commonly worry about on a gaming monitor. Now, one thing to note is that this isn't curved, not even a very subtle curve. In theory, a curved monitor is more immersive, simply because it sort of wraps around you more. It may have less distortion too because of the angle you see the light emit from, but in practice I haven't experienced any distortion when using this. It's certainly not the case that things are blurry as you look towards the extremes or anything like that. And some people in fact prefer a flat monitor for whatever reason. And while I haven't experienced a curved monitor in extended use to compare for you, I can tell you that if you want a curved monitor instead, you are of course looking at, again, higher prices. So in the region of $800 to $900 for even the cheapest curved 49-inch monitor, and that would actually be a lower pixel density than this is. The monitor ships with a standard IEC kettle lead power cord, USB-C to C cable, and a DisplayPort 1.4 cable, but no HDMI. In the box you'll also find the test results of the color calibration from the factory, which is a nice inclusion. It's very well packaged. In fact, UPS had done a bit of a number on ours, but there was no damage to the monitor. And it took mere moments to fit the neck on the base and then carefully lift this behemoth onto the mount. I wouldn't recommend doing this alone. Get someone to help out, not because it's hugely heavy, I mean it isn't, but it is just obviously bulky and awkward. In terms of connectivity, DisplayPort 1.4 is your best option for the highest resolution and refresh rates available, and that'll run up to the full resolution at 144 Hz. HDMI 2.0 is also present, though no cable is included, and you will be limited to 100 Hz if you use that. It's also worth mentioning the direct USB-C option, because if you have a compatible device such as the Steam Deck, you can just plug in that one single cable and your device will be both powered and can transmit video back to the monitor at a maximum of 60 Hz. Although for the Steam Deck specifically, it's worth bearing in mind that while the Steam library interface runs full screen, the games themselves are limited to a 1200 by 800 pixel resolution, so it may not be able to take advantage of all the real estate, nor will it run full resolution. Though obviously that depends on what you've got plugged in. Also for the Steam Deck, you can support other resolutions if you drop down to desktop mode to run your games, but then you're really going to struggle with pushing your Steam Deck, so I don't suggest doing that. Still, for supported devices like a MacBook, this makes it a really great sort of hot desking option. Other than that, there's a 3.5mm jack for stereo out, and the built-in speakers, they're not horrendous, but nor are they anything worth dwelling on. I will, however, note the lack of a USB hub. There are no uplink USB ports here, which I think might be a missed trick with the USB-C connector. It would have been nice if this could be a sort of all-in-one docking station, but on the other hand, I think most desktop users, myself anyway, the sort of people this is aimed at, have never actually used the USB functionality of a monitor, because generally this is the sort of monitor that will be tied to a full desktop PC, and chances are you don't need yet another USB hub. I mean, look, even my keyboard has its own USB hub built in. For ergonomics, you have the usual tilt, swivel and height adjustments. There's about 15 centimeters of leeway on the height. But of course, something this wide, you don't have rotation, because that would just be ridiculous. The base is very heavy to support this. It's basically a big steel plate. In total, the monitor is around 94 centimeters wide, so on a standard 1.4 meter desk, this will take up a good 2/3 of the horizontal space, and you might just be able to fit some slimline speakers on either side. I did want to briefly talk about this 21:9 ratio, because it's one of the most striking elements of this display. After all, a 40-inch TV and a 40-inch ultra-wide gaming monitor are completely different beasts when one is 16:9 and the other one is 21:9. Traditionally, TVs and desktop monitors were actually 4:3 ratio, which was fine for office work and TV shows. But then we started to see more widescreen displays making it into the home, as watching movies at home went on the rise, so it was a compromise, really. The 16:9 ratio format was a sort of midway between 4:3 and the much wider cinema format. But actually 21:9, or rather 64:27 to be technical, has always been the film industry's screen ratio of choice. So while you can get even wider formats, 21:9 has the advantage of being able to fill completely the whole of the screen for most movie content. And if you have a screen this big on your desktop, believe me, you're going to want to watch some movies on it. It is absolutely stunning. On the flip side, of course, watching anything designed for traditional TVs is going to result in a black bar either side and wasted display space. Oh hey, remember I said we had a giveaway? Oh yeah. Innocn has kindly offered 2 of these immensely awesome gaming monitors for a giveaway. Just head on over to the full review link in the description, and at the end of it you'll find a widget. Type in the code WIDEBOY into there and you should get some bonus entries. So good luck with that. Entries close about a month after this video is published, and we will contact the winner by email from competitions@makeuseof.com. So please make sure that's in your address book so it doesn't go to spam. Okay, let's talk about visual quality. I've actually been using an Innocn 27-inch monitor for the past few months, so for me the visual quality of this is unremarkable. That's not to say it's bad, I'm just used to the high quality of Innocn monitors by now. It doesn't blow me away anymore. They are fantastic. If you're not accustomed to this level of quality in a monitor, then you're going to notice it a lot more than I did. To test out the black levels, I did something very simple. I turned on some 16:9 widescreen content, which resulted in those black bars either side. Turned off the lights and can happily report that they weren't a distracting level of grey. They're certainly not pure black either, but there's no discernible light bleed from the main image into the dark parts, and they don't overtly glow uniformly from the backlight, so overall good black levels. I also ran through a standard battery of tests from ASO and didn't notice anything untoward or worth mentioning. Honestly, it was all good. No distortion, no smearing, at least nothing my untrained eye could pick up. More importantly though, I've been using this to mostly game on for weeks, and it's just been stunning. Truly, the level of immersion you get in something like Horizon Zero Dawn is incredible when you find those breathtaking vistas to look out from. The cockpit view in Dirt Rally 2 really shows off, well, the side of the mountains as I plummet to my death at a super smooth 120 Hz. And the neon glow of Cyberpunk has never looked so good. So while the colours are gorgeous, for me the biggest difference has been the immersion that you get from the sheer size of the display, the wide viewpoint, and that super smooth refresh rate. I've not really used 144Hz or even 120Hz gaming monitor before. 60Hz is about my limit, so for me that did make a huge difference. Even for things like simple office work or web browsing, you get all the benefits of a multi-monitor setup with this, being able to run two windows side by side with ample room to play around in. How's my stonks doing? Oh, must be time to buy the dip again. Are we at least any closer to fixing climate change? Unprecedented levels of faster than expected, worse than ever. Oh my god, everything sucks. Back to gaming it is then. On the downside, despite technically supporting HDR400, much like the Innocn 40C1R that I reviewed before, the HDR effect is somewhat disappointing. It's just a little lackluster and too dark for my preferences. Regular modes feel more than vibrant enough. I really like to crank up the contrast. I love saturated neon colours. And the HDR modes, when I tested, just seemed more muted. Now that could just be my personal taste of not really enjoying the more natural colour palettes, or it could be a technical limitation of the monitor when doing HDR at 400 nits maximum brightness, but either way, it just wasn't something I wanted to keep enabled. Lastly, I think it's worth addressing, can you trust Innocn? I wouldn't blame you for wondering who Innocn even is. They're not exactly a common brand name after all. But with years of experience producing monitors for other brands, Innocn does have the manufacturing chops to make it on their own. They have exploded onto the scene with fantastic quality, affordable devices. And since the last review I did of theirs, I'm still using the 40C1R 4K 27-inch monitor as my main Mac desktop everyday monitor on which I write, edit 4K videos and do everything else. It's lasted me well so far with no complaints. The only niggle I had with that was the 4 physical push buttons, which are pretty awkward to use. And they're identical on this, so that complaint still applies. I just don't like these buttons, and it makes interacting with the complex menu systems really awkward. So is the 40C1R the gaming monitor for you? At $600, the Innocn 40C1R is a good deal, but it's an absolute steal if you wait for a sale or can grab a coupon. You didn't hear it from me, but maybe there's going to be a Prime Day discount. Who knows? Whether it's for multitasking, office work, or its main purpose is high performance, high refresh rate immersive gaming, this is one hell of a display that you're really going to enjoy. Don't forget our competition, of course. Head down to the link in the comments and you'll find the entry widget at the end of the written review. And until next time, thanks for watching. Please hit like and consider subscribing for more awesome gadget reviews, giveaways and more from all of us over at makeuseof.com.